I want to do a Champions League final recap. It's Monday now. Champions League final was 2 days ago. Dortmund 0, Real Madrid 2. So I want to have a look at my bets, the edges, the value that was available. Okay. Oh, look, he's after timing again. Look at him after timing. Shut up. Sit down first, and second, shut up. Yes, I am after timing. It's shamelessly, but it's not really after timing because everything I'm talking about here was available before the game. My favourite after timing comment, I think I was on the Smart Betting Club podcast talking about a golf winner 175 to 1. And one of the comments under the video was, this is just shameless after timing. The guy of 175 to 1, the value was available for 3 full days before the tournament started, publicised on the site. And if that wasn't enough, then emailed out to everybody that subscribes the day before. And yet it was still after timing, according to this one comment. So if this is after timing, shut up. Sit down. Have a word with yourself. Maybe just click the off button and go and watch something else. Good. We got rid of those people. Let's get on with it. Champions League final, sort of historically, notoriously difficult to profit from a couple of reasons. I mean, if you're looking at it from a concession point of view, a little bit like the Grand National, the bookies don't have to give anything away because if anyone's betting on any game this year, it's going to be there's no other game happening on Saturday. What was the other game on Saturday? Göteborg versus Elfsborg in the Allsvenskan, right? So that was like the biggest game that wasn't Dortmund versus Real Madrid. All the money is going to be in this game. And so the bookies don't have to give anything away for it to attract customers, so they don't. So concessions-wise, and you're going to see nothing. I mean, even down to the line of Betfred does his daily specials, which some people might blindly bet. Okay, so he went 7-2 on Real Madrid to win both halves. Win both halves has been quite a profitable bet, and you can get £100 on that in the shop. And if that's higher than the fair price, you're going to get some value on the exchange. Maybe not this game on the exchange, because the exchanges can be quite efficient on the Champions League final, right? It doesn't matter, because it wasn't even close to value. None of the Fred specials were close to value. He was taking the P, if you ask me. Win both halves was 4.5. When I looked, it was around about 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 for Real Madrid, win both halves. 0-0 at half-time, so they didn't, so that doesn't matter. We had Bellingham first goal scorer at 5.0, which is a super low price for first goal scorer. We made the fair odds in-house at 7.8, and he had boosted them to 5.0. So there you go. Even if I've written that down wrong and it was 6.0, they weren't close. 6.6 on the exchange. The exchange was a lay. We thought Bellingham was going to get 0.4 goals in this match when the outfield starting 20 players were going to get 2.6 goals. So I mean, as first goal scorer, that was one where Fred was like, what are all the British people going to want to bet on recreationally? It's going to be Bellingham, it's going to be Stourbridge's finest, and he could have offered evens and people probably would have taken the money. Although I do wonder, I mean, this is so bad, I do wonder if anybody was betting at these prices. Vinicius Jr., we were looking at half a goal, 0.5 XG. So his AGS should have been around about 2.53. Again, the exchange is much higher than that. So the exchange was a lay, as it was for most of anytime goal scorer. In fact, I think all of it, every time goal scorer would have been a lay. And yeah, Fred boosted him to 6-4. So there you go. Nothing from the anytime goal scorer. Nothing from the win both halves. Nothing from the first goal scorer. He did have a social boost, okay? And this was up on the Friday. So we worked this out. This was Vinicius Jr. to score. So we've got half a goal for Vinicius Jr. And then we've got over 2.5 goals in the game, which becomes a little bit funky. The maths become a little bit different for a scorecast like that. Over 6.5 corners. Hummels to make 3+ tackles. Now, tackles-wise, we had Hummels down at 2.94 tackles. He actually got 5. Now, it didn't come in, but it was mega value. Fred said it was 9-1, and we made the fair odds 7.0, and Fred boosted it to 12-1, so that's a huge boost. So we worked this out on the Friday night. Now, our bets don't go live on the track until 18 hours before the game. This was an 8 p.m. kickoff, and someone else can do the maths of when that would have been live. 2 in the morning, something like that. And by the time we woke up, it had changed from over 2.5 to under 2.5, and the value was terrible. Now, what's funny about this, and this is funny, I don't know if anyone's bets were voided before the change. Because, of course, you can't just bet on over, them change it to under, and then take that bet from you. That's not what you were betting on. But I hope they did. Because if you bet the over, which was mega value, it did lose. But get this, when they changed it to the under, which was not mega value, that change made the bet win, because Vinicius Jr. did score. There were under 2.5 goals. Hummel's got 5 tackles. I don't know how many corners there were, but I know there were more than 6.5. We'll come to corners in a bit. So, Booha and Fred. Fred tried to make it super negative expectation for his social boost. How social's that? It was like 25% EV. And it won by changing it. Should have just left it at the mega 200% EV of the over. I've got no sympathy whatsoever. If you were on that, I do want to know. Send it in. I wasn't. But I want to know if they voided it, or if they paid out for the over, or they paid out at lower odds. They didn't pay out for the over, but did they sell it as a loser? Did you get on the under or a super bad bet? I don't know. Let me know. So that was Fred. So, it's okay. So it's like, now we're in trouble because we've got really efficient lines on the match odds in both teams to score over goals on the exchange. Very, very, very difficult to see that we're going to beat the very large syndicates that shape that money. Okay? We're not seeing anything in terms of these daily boosts from Fred that can sometimes be 105, maybe even 110% EV. And because they're not good, we're not getting any bias on the exchange either. So we're not seeing any value there. We've got the double delight hat-trick heaven concession. You just know in games like this, where there's one single game that everyone's betting on, that he's offering nothing, and wasn't that the case? Who was the highest EV? I mean, nobody was in the 90%. Rodrigo was 87%. Vinicius Jr. was 86%. Most other players were 70%, 60%, 50%. Much better just mugging 2+ on the exchange or first goal scorer rather than take any of Fred's prices. I mean, 4.33 for Vinicius when he should have been over 6. Things like that. Like, there was just no value, and you knew there wasn't going to be any value. So double delight hat-trick heaven isn't an option. So with all of that, how did I do? Trumpet time, and I'm after timing. Sit down, shut up, don't care. I managed 118% EV on ROI on this match, and I got quite a few thousand down, so I was very happy with my 118% ROI. So where did it come from? And this is where I'm after timing, but I'm going to try and talk about the winners and the losers. Let's just go through all of my losers. There were 2, okay? And they were both first goal scorer bets. I was on Marston and Nacho, first goal scorer. So Marston, first goal scorer, was very, very thin. 102%. I got him at 75. I wanted 80. I got him at 75. He should have been at 73. You know? I mean, maybe you could argue that's going to be a neutral bet. I was actually targeting 80 and I had to sort of bail out. So here I am. This is why I can't do this video before the match. It's 7 p.m, 7:15 p.m, really, on a Saturday night. In my personal life, I'm at home as my wife and my daughter are in Scotland at a party. I can't go to this party because my 5-year-old son's ill. He is sleeping, but I'm at home looking after him. Okay? So I'm waiting around for team news to be announced. Now, the team news wasn't any major surprise, and I think there would have been more value had it been a surprise, but it wasn't. If you'd looked at who scored earlier in the day, the predicted lineups equaled the lineups that we saw down at Wembley at 7:15 p.m. But I'm still waiting for this because I don't want to be betting on anyone when he's not starting, or losing a little bit of value there. So now, from 7:15 p.m. to about 7:45 p.m, I'm getting on my bets. What am I going to do? Record this video then? Record this video and then upload it? Record this video and then upload it in time for you to watch it before kickoff? That isn't happening. So there's a logistical problem that we have, that I can't do that before the game starts. So I can only talk about this after the game. I could have done it during the match. I wanted to watch the match. Give me a couple of hours peace and quiet with a beer on a Saturday night when I've got a poorly 5-year-old. You bastard. So I'm doing it 2 days afterwards. That's my after timing. Marston didn't win. Nacho Man, massive EV on this guy. 102%. Guy was 75 and he was like 72. Fair odds. Now, Emery Can was pretty decent at 55, but I couldn't get him. And Daniel Carvajal was very, very decent at 70 on the exchange with 58.71 Ferros. Why are his Ferros 58.71? Well, in terms of AGS, we almost perfectly agreed with the exchange. It's kind of mad, right? Sometimes the exchange AGS is too high and sometimes it's too low. But what tends to happen is all the players are a back or all the players are a lay. Sometimes, but very rarely, the exchange gets it right. You see, the exchange is manipulated by all sorts of factors. You've got bookmakers' prices that are influencing them. Team news are influencing them. You've got some sharp money, but it's not that sharp. There's not a lot of syndicated money in anytime goal scorer. You've got people offloading liability. You've got people with very strong opinions on particular players. You've got a lot of recreational money. Half of the people in Anfield are just going to be betting on Salah. You've got arbitrage players. You've got layers. You've got people laying off boosts. The whole market is very inefficient and a mess. And so you very rarely see, if you add up all of the anytime goal scorer prices, if you convert them to XG and add them up, you very rarely get the XG of the game. Meaning there's value to lay or value to back. More commonly to lay, but it's not uncommon to back as well. In this match, the exchange got it completely right for every player. How right? Emery Can should have been 14.6, 14.5 in the exchange. Carvajal should have been 19.2 to score. He was 19 on the exchange. You know, I'm going to pick a player at random here. Vinicius, because he's short, should have been 2.53. He was 2.5 on the exchange. The exchange has got it bang on, right? So that's mad, but interesting to see for anytime goal scorer. What about for first goal scorer? Nah, mate. First goal scorer, completely different. A lot of players were strong lays. The likes of Rudiger, Sancho, Mendy, Schlotterbeck, my favourite named player, on the pitch. Hummels, all strong lays. Definitely Jude Bellingham, one of the strongest lays. And that's a lot to do with recreational, great British players. Betting him down to 6.6. He shouldn't have been close to 6.6. But there were a few marginally plus EV backs, a couple that I've just mentioned that I was on. And then there was Emery Can and Daniel Carvajal, the two big boys, at 55 and 70. 120% EV. And Carvajal got the first goal in the match. That was a really decent bet. I bet strongly on him. He came in. The EV was good. The odds were high. I always like that because a little bit easier to bet at 70 than it is to bet at evens and get decent stakes down. You love to see it. So first goal scorer was just tremendous. And that was two losing bets, but overall a winning market anyway. And those are the only two losing bets I had in the entire game. Now, there was an enhanced special. There were two enhanced specials that took my eye. They were pretty easy and then to take advantage of. And then we're going to go into some standard market stuff after that. So the enhanced markets was Rail 2+ goals, Rail 6+ corners, and Dortmund 3+ cards. Now this is like a request a bet or a what's odds paddy that I don't even think is boosted. I'm not entirely sure where it comes from. Standard market could be wrong. It might come from Paddy Power. A lot of these betting companies put junior people into the roles of pricing up these request a bets, what's odds paddies. Sometimes they get them wrong. This one went up. It may not have been boosted, but it went up at 8.8. I calculated the fair odds down at 7.7. I'm doing 7.7 fair odds from memory, but it was decent enough that I wanted to max stake it, and I could max stake that at BetDAC. I could max stake it at Smarkets, And at half time, well, it wasn't looking tasty because Real Madrid had no goals, Real Madrid had one corner, and Dortmund had 2 cards, including Schlotterbeck. Schlotter, yes. So the cards looked okay, but the corners and the goals were not looking great. But 74 minutes, Carvajal got the first goal. Vinicius got one in the 83rd. All the corners came in the second half. 11 corners in the second half, by the way. 7 for Real, 4 for Dortmund. And that bet just won easily in the second half. And then a similarly squeaky bum time bet was the goalkeepers, the 2 goalkeepers. Not the 2 goalkeepers, just the Dortmund goalkeeper, Kobel, to get 3 or more saves in the game. Which essentially, if you like, well, we tried to work it out from shots on target and then take goals away, but then there are a few circumstances where that didn't quite work. So we've had to have another way of modelling saves. And in the first half, there were no saves for the Dortmund keeper. Dortmund were in complete control. And so this was a bet that looked like it wasn't going to come in. But then in the second half, I think it was like 4 saves in the second half. So all of the saves came in the second half. That was an odds-on bet that went up at 1.89 down to 1.8 on the exchange. Fair odds 1.59. Really good value. Really good 20, 25, 30% value EV odds-on bet available at the exchange. I mean, I'm not going to trumpet out for a bet that should win, at 1.59. But it was just one of a series of bets that started to come in. Starting to look at the standard markets now. Player to be carded has been really strong all season, and we can often see quite a difference between the opinion that's on the exchange and what the fair odds we model at Bookie Bashing are. Now, in terms of histories, we've got histories up for most things. One noticeable exception is cards. I do want to get player cards up because empirically I've heard from other people and from my own betting that the ROI on player cards through 2024 has just been really strong. So we'll hit Schlotterbeck. Schlotter, yes. Who was, I don't think I've got the odds recorded here. Yes, I do. Schlotterbeck was 5.3 to back and 4.3 fair odds. Not a bad bet there. I was on Hummels, who was 4.1 to back and 3.4 would have been the fair odds. And there were only 4 cards: Vinicius Jr., Schlotterbeck, Sabitzer and Hummels. And of those 4, I was on a couple of them. So, super happy about that. Shots on target. Had a look at Camavinga. I was watching the match, and I don't know when he got that shot on target, because I think I finished the game thinking it was a loser. But over 0.5 was 4.4 to back on the exchanges. The fair odds were in the 3s. I do now forget what it was, but it was a decent 110% plus EV bet. And Jude Bellingham as well. Now Jude Bellingham was a third loser. Did he get a shot? Yeah. I thought he got a shot on target, but apparently he didn't. So sorry, I did lie. Jude Bellingham did not get a shot on target in that match. But all in all, when you added everything up, that was 118.3% EV. So in this match, I was avoiding a lot of the biased markets because I couldn't really find any, because I couldn't find any decent boosts from the bookmakers. And traditionally, when you look at games like the World Cup final, the Euros final, things like that, when the Grand National, when the bookmaker doesn't have to throw around concessions, then they don't. They feel like they can have quite a good edge just taking all of the money. And because of that, there was nothing to get on in the shops in terms of double delay hat-trick heaven or concessions. So mainly concentrated on exchanges. Now, there were bookmakers out there priced up higher than the exchange prices, and access to soft bookmakers and to shops would have seen, really decent profits out there. But I'm very happy with what it was. As I say, my focus of attention was on shots on target. I would have laid shots on target if I'd seen any value lays, but it just happened to be a couple of backs. Some enhanced specials, which were biased, but don't really know which bookmakers were boosting them. Don't need to know, to tell you the truth. Some first goal scorer bets, some player card bets. There was probably more out there. I mean, there were stats around... the stats were pretty strong, I thought, in terms of their accuracy in a sample size of one match. But bear in mind, we've been looking at about 0.1% difference between recorded shots on target and expected shots on target over a sample size of 10, 12,000 shots on target. So it can be quite accurate. But it was interesting to see that the markets predicted 2.8 goals. Well, there were 2. In terms of shots, 25.5. There were 26. Shots on target, 9.07. There were 10. Assists, the markets had 1.6 assists. There were 2 because, you can't assist from a corner or a penalty or things like that. So there are always fewer assists than goals. Markets thought there were going to be 3.97 player cards. There were 4. Markets thought there were going to be 33.5 tackles. There were 30. 4.2 scorer assists. There were 4. In a sample of 4 players, 256 passes. There were actually 299. So I don't quite know if, unders would have had a bad time on passes, but overs would have been strong there. And the markets expected 15 fouls. There were 16.85. I find it really interesting how close the markets and the bookie bashing tools actually summate a lot of these lines to what was recorded, albeit sample size of one match. We should be looking at tens of thousands, and we do, not a single one. How did you do in the Champions League? Did you leave it alone? I don't blame you if you did. It's a difficult match to find value on and to profit from, but I thought I would do some pretty heavy after timing, because you either might find it interesting or you should just sit down and shut up.